the most disgusting thing of the day. Yes, Bill O'Reilly is gone. And for those of you watching on TV, for those of you listening on the radio, I'll have to explain to you, I'm talking about the front page of today's New York Times. Right alongside of the headline, Fox News fires Bill O'Reilly, is a picture of Bill O'Reilly shaking hands with the Pope yesterday, or the day before yesterday, when he's on vacation in Italy, goes to the Vatican for the weekly audience of the Pope. And then the Pope, as you know, goes around through St. Peter's Square, where there could be 100,000 people gathered, and he stops to shake hands with Bill O'Reilly. How disgusting. Because you know, let me tell you this, as a former seminarian, as one who has been at a weekly audience of a Pope, the Vatican knows who's there. They put the people up front they want the Pope to shake hands with because of connections. This Bill O'Reilly, this pseudo-Catholic, gets some cardinal, probably the Cardinal of New York, to arrange for him to be up front to shake hands with the Pope when the Vatican knows he is a serial sexual abuser, that he is under investigation at Fox News, that he has run away to Italy to get away from the scandal, and they put him up in a position to get the big handshake from the Pope. How disgusting. It just really makes me sick to my stomach. And I don't blame the Pope. I blame these old farts at the Vatican, right, with their history of sexual abuse, the Catholic Church, and they celebrate another one in Bill O'Reilly. Shameful day for the Vatican. Yes, and Bill O'Reilly, who would, put it this way. Again, love your comments on this, on what it means for O'Reilly to be gone on Twitter, at BP Show. But think about this. 10 months ago, who would have thought that Fox News would be without Roger Ailes? A month ago, who would have thought that Fox News would be without Bill O'Reilly? And today, they are both gone. It's amazing. And let me tell you something. They are gone. Don't be mistaken here, because there are people today who are saying, this proves that there's a new day at Fox News. This proves that Fox News recognizes this is the 21st century, and they're going to have an atmosphere at Fox News from now of, what was it, culture and respect, I think is the phrase that they use. I know respect was one of the two words. That's nonsense. No. Fox News didn't make this decision on their own accord. They didn't make this decision because they're good guys. They didn't make this decision for the right reasons. You know why they made this decision to fire Bill O'Reilly? Because we found out about it. We found out about it, and Roger Ailes, we found out about Roger Ailes thanks to Gretchen Carlson and other brave women who came forward. And we found out about Bill O'Reilly thanks to the investigative reporting of the New York Times, which just about within the last 2 weeks came out with this investigation and proved that Fox News had paid $13 million to settle, I think, 5 different lawsuits against Bill O'Reilly for sexual harassment. 2 of them since Roger Ailes was fired. And they had renewed Bill O'Reilly's contract for $20 million a year, even after paying out $13 million for sexual harassment. So they knew he was a scumbag. They knew he was guilty of sexual harassment, or he wouldn't have settled these suits. They knew who he was, and they still renewed his contract. And then the world found out, and then Fox News finally acted because they had to. In other words, sexual harassment at Fox News is okay as long as nobody knows about it. But let me tell you, again, we are better off. Fox News is better off. The world is better off without Roger Ailes and without Bill O'Reilly. But, boy, it really shows the importance that the times are changing and the importance of women coming forward, not putting up with this. You don't have to. There are recourses. Tell your story. Put it out there. Don't let men rule the workplace and feel that they can get away with anything when it comes to their treatment of women, either treating them disrespectfully or actually at the level of sexual harassment or worse. And kudos to the New York Times for digging in there and showing what good investigative journalism is all about and coming out with this story. Yesterday, Maxine Waters, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who's been right out front on this. She called Fox News, what was it, the sexual harassment playhouse or something like that last week.
How much you call it?
You know, it's close to that. And she said yesterday, yeah, some men like O'Reilly, where they ought to go. They ought to go to jail.
The day will come when rich persons with rich men won't be able to buy their way out of this criminal activity. And they will go to jail, and they should go to jail.
At Fox, she said, this kind of activity from Roger Ailes on down was a way of life.
The men there and Roger Ailes, this was a way of life for them. Powerful men with a lot of money who would proposition women, taking advantage of them.
Yep, indeed.
Sexual harassment enterprise. Is what
sexual harassment enterprise. That was it. Yeah, good. God love her. And Lisa Bloom, she was an attorney for, not for Gretchen Carlson, but she might have been, but for several of the women who did, against Bill O'Reilly. She was represented several of the women who filed charges against Bill O'Reilly. She says yesterday, yep, you bet. We feel vindicated.
My clients who had the courage to step forward were vindicated.
And she says, and this I think is an important point, because Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly got away with what they were doing for so long because there were other people around them or over them in the case of Bill O'Reilly, not in case of Roger Ailes, who knew what they were doing, who knew how much money Fox was paying out, of course, who knew what was going on in that workplace. And you know they were not the only two who took advantage of women at Fox News. And those men were allowing it to happen, looking the other way, covering it up. In other words, they were enablers. Here again, Lisa Bloom.
Everyone who has been an enabler for either Mr. Ailes, Mr. O'Reilly, or any others who have paid out millions of dollars in sexual harassment claims, those people should all be gone.
I think that's an extremely important point. And, look, I don't know the leadership of Fox News enough that I could name names, but there are people there today who allowed Bill O'Reilly to get away with this for years.
Yep.
They knew who he was. They knew what was going on. They knew how much they had paid out, but they were making money on him. He was their cash cow, and so they let him get away with it. And again, that's why Fox News finally did it. Not two reasons. Not because we want to do the right thing. We want to show, how morally correct we are. No, they did it because we found out, the public found out, number one, and number two, they started losing money. 50 advertisers fleeing, running away from Bill O'Reilly's show. And once their bottom line got hit, then the Murdoch brothers said, no, we better get rid of this guy. He's costing us money. It's the only reason. Bottom line.
I don't want to, how much I'm going to hate to hoist Bill O'Reilly on his own petard here, but his whole shtick when he first started, and he kept it up for most of the time that he was there, was he was the culture warrior, right? Yep. He was Mr. Our culture is falling apart, society is breaking down, and I think it's really, really telling that culture is dying. That patriarchy is dying. It is on its way out. You cannot do this stuff anymore.
No.
And I know, look, a lot of people get away with it. A lot of people are going to continue to get away with it. But what we're looking at are the dying throes of this chauvinistic world of management or talent or whatever. And I also think it's really, really important to point out here that in the middle of this, after lawsuits were settled, multiple lawsuits were settled, or multiple claims were settled, after this had been brought out into public, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, said Bill O'Reilly's a good guy. He should not have settled, and maintained that he should still be on the air and he should still have his show. And so now he's fired. He's gone. He's clearly done wrong. I would love to know what Donald Trump says now. So that, I think, is a very clear example of the dying patriarchy and Bill O'Reilly on his way out the door, and the fact that we've got this dinosaur in the White House who doesn't get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent point. And you know, Donald Trump will probably ignore this, or he may come out and say Fox News did the wrong thing. He's crazy enough to say that, but
he is crazy enough.
It's also worth pointing out that Donald Trump would not be where he is today without Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly. And
you owe me milkshakes, I'll take them off the ledger if you consider it.
Okay.
So quickly before we move on, I just can't resist. Again, the thing that pisses me off most about this is this picture of Bill O'Reilly with the Pope. How could they let that happen? Damn Cardinals. I mean, they're just they don't live in the real world. And you talk about an all-male enclave,
yeah,
right? And the cover-up that they did over all the priest serial abusers, and then just disgusting. I hope the Pope ought to apologize and say, I'm sorry that they put me up to that, and condemn the people who did so. Fire them. Two quick little Bill O'Reilly stories. Can I just indulge myself and
Please.
never have another chance? So I had two run-ins with Bill O'Reilly. I basically hate the man. I admit that. I don't hate many people. I do hate him. So two things. One, I appeared on this show only once. When my first book came out called Spin This. And at the time, Bill O'Reilly was into this whole thing. I guess he continued on the factor. The no spin zone. No, this is one place where there's no spin. We just tell the truth, the whole thing. And in my book, Spin This, I pointed out that he was one of the biggest spinners of all time. Right? I mean, his whole show basically was spin. So he had me on to talk about the book, and he said, now, in this book, you say, and he read a paragraph from there, basically accusing him of, and he said, so how can you say that? And I said, look, Bill, I'm not saying spin is evil or it's not a crime. It's not a sin. All I'm saying is everybody spins. I admit I spin to the left. You spin to the right. I was trying to be fair, right? And he said, no, that's not true. I never spin. Give me one example of where I ever engaged in spin. And, of course, I'd done my homework. I knew what he was going to ask. So I said, okay. And I picked up a little card, and I had on there, on such and such a date, somebody said this, and then you said, boom, 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 boom. I said, that is spin. He said, no, it's not. I'm just giving my opinion. I said, Bill, no, that is really spin. That's spin. He said, no, it's not. Give me another example. So I said, okay. I had about 6 of these lined up, right? I said, okay. By the way, this is up on YouTube. Somebody told me that it's still up there. Bill O'Reilly, Bill Press, whatever. So I picked up another card and I said, okay, here's another boom, boom. I give this example. And Bill O'Reilly said, no, that's not it. You're just not telling the truth. Goodbye. Boom. Just ended the segment like that. My little Bill O'Reilly run-in. But I got even. With him because I was at MSNBC at the time. Mm-hmm. Fox News, C-SPAN, CNBC are all same building, 400 North Capitol, right down here near Union Station, not far from the Capitol. And on the first floor was a restaurant called La Colline, a French restaurant.
Okay.
And this is a time when France was refusing to join us in the war in Iraq. And the conservatives went nuts about France. And they every night, right, they were breaking bottles of red wine.
Right.
They changed
Freedom Fries.
They changed the name of French fries to Freedom Fries, and the whole thing, anti-France, was led by Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, that's right, man.
I was having lunch at La Colline one day, and in walks Bill O'Reilly, and he sits down and has lunch by himself in this French restaurant. I finished my lunch. I went upstairs. I called the Washington Post. And I said, hypocrite, hypocrite, hypocrite. Guess who's having lunch at the French restaurant on Capitol Hill? Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, that's funny.
And, of course, they published that the next day.
Good.
What he had for lunch.
Well, screw him.
How much it cost him. And
you snake.
And
he had it coming.
And what a little tip he left. So don't mess with Texas, baby. Yeah. All right. Bill O'Reilly. Goodbye. Good riddance. Yes, indeed.